Hey, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Shelter Insurance Agents Grant Baker and Aurora, Sean Holman in Lockwood, the Bank of Billings, Labor's Local 663, Doak Propane, Great Southern Bank, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, and as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. We welcome to the show now from Prep Hoops, Missouri, and uh, St. Louis American writer and covering sports for more than 30 years. Well, they're probably closer to 40 years in this area, but always a great guest, Earl Austin Jr. Mr. Austin, thanks so much for your time.
I thank you for having me. Enjoy it.
Coach. I've talked to so many coaches today. I'm calling you coach. But Earl, as you look, and we'll talk a little bit first about this past weekend with Charleston winning in Class 3. You had a dominating performance by South Iron in Class 1 on the boys' side. What are some things that kind of stood out to you over this past weekend?
One was a spectacular play by Garrett DeValdo of Norwood in the Class 2 state championships. In the semifinals, he had 39 and basically just willed his team offensively in that semifinal game against a very good LeBlanc team. And then in the championship game, they were literally double teaming him, face guarding him with two people, and he still got 25. But then he really was dropping dimes, had like 8 or 9 assists and setting guys up, and then still got the game-winning basket off of steal against a very good Bernie team. That young man is just tremendous because he literally just everybody knows he's going to the basket, and he gets there anyway, and he can contort and twist his body, and he only gets maybe one or two charging calls, and he just can score. He's just a magician around that basket. So he was tremendous. In the 3A three, you saw one of the top freshmen in the state, if not the best one or two, PJ Farmer of Charleston. He went on such a postseason run. He had 33 in the district championship game. He had 31 in the sectionals, 22 in the quarterfinals, and then just had two big games at the Final Four. He had that gigantic three-pointer at the buzzer of the third quarter against a good Higginsville team, and he just really raised his game to another level. And just another great line of Charleston players who, won their 12th state championship, and excellent player. And then, of course, in the Class 1, you saw South Iron go back-to-back. Last year, you saw Drennan Dinkins, who was with Brock Wakefield, who's now at Citadel, one of the best backcourts in the state. Brock has moved on, and Drennan just moved into that, became that main guy all the whole time. And then 34 points in the semis, and just had a great season, and led them to that state championship again, back-to-back. Just tremendous guard.
And he had 29 points in the first half of
Yeah,
that
that's
game.
something. Yeah.
And he didn't know it. We just got done interviewing him a little while ago, and he had no idea he had that many. And then he came out in the second half, and they went triangle and two, and both guys guarded him. And so he
Yes.
kind of let his teammates. He kind of backed out, and they just went 4-on-3, and I ended up with 34, 35. But just a tremendous effort there. And I was sitting on the bench, for that game. And but it's just so much fun. The atmosphere has been so great. I think Missouri State and Misha has done a tremendous job here, along with Missouri State, with hosting this tournament. The fandom has been great. There's been a lot of fans, and of course, you get some of the local teams like you're going to see this weekend with Springfield Catholic and the likes of Kickapoo and West Plains is not really that far. You probably could see some more tremendous numbers coming in, but they all get underway today in Class 6, and really looking forward to that Class 6 boys side.
Yeah, you literally got the four best teams. Usually you have upsets, but CBC and Chaminade were the two best Class 6 teams in St. Louis. They're from the same conference, and they split two meetings this year. They each won their home game. Justin Tatum, Frank Bennett, they're coaching at their alma maters. CBC probably a little bit of a favorite. They got probably the best point guard in the state, and Rob Martin, the Indiana State commit. Larry Hughes Jr. had a nice year, 6'5" guard. Then they got this young man, John Bull, who you're going to see for the first time, 7'2" sophomore from Mali. One of the best, probably the best shot blocker in the state. Incredible, long, athletic. Offense is getting better, but he just impacts the game defensively. And Chaminade is there, despite losing two great players, and Terrace Reed and Damian Mayo, who are now playing on Link, who's in the Geico Classic at the end of the month, and then they still get back. They got a nice, good balanced team with BJ. Is an excellent point guard, BJ Ward, a junior, and that should be a fun game because they're conference rivals. In that other game, you got the best team in Springfield, the Ozark area, and the next side, and the best team in Kansas City in Staley. Great coaches, Chris Staley, Jay Osborne. Great point guards, Kyan Evans of Staley. Uh, Help me out, Colin Ruffin
Colin.
of Anixa. Balanced teams. They both got some size, big guards. That should be a fun game to watch, too. All four of those teams capable of winning the state championship, I think.
Well, you look at the next Eagles and Coach Jay Osborne, 35 years he's been doing this. He announced in November this would be his last season. Uh, and I really felt like, going into it, and so did he, and we've talked that he had a team that may have a chance to kind of make a run on it at it. And I interviewed him last week before they took on Lee Summit West, and they won that dominant fashion against the Lee Summit West team, who may have been one of the hottest teams in the state, coming off being a 4 seed, and they go through back-to-back upsets to get Raytown in their district championship to get to the quarterfinals. But I was talking with Coach Osborne and just said, hey, you've had 35 senior classes that have went through every game, could be their last, and now you're kind of in that similar situation. And he hadn't really thought about that, and that quarterfinal game is always the toughest because it puts you into that Final Four,
Yeah,
guarantees you two more games. But they kind of won that going away.
yeah. I think the one that was the district to get past Kickapoo. I think that really, because Kickapoo had kind of ended the season the last 3 or 4 years, and then Justin usually a Brookshire three or a steal. It was just like heartbreaking fashion. And to get by Kickapoo, not only the first time during the season, but then to get by him in the district in what was a rock fight, low scoring, tough game. And I think that just kind of lifted a big burden, and they just kind of been rolling. And they got the pieces, like you said. They got, Ruffin and Combs are big guards, 6'3", 6'4". They got, Turner can shoot the ball. Jared Nelson is one of my favorite. I love undersized pivot guys who know how to maneuver around that basket. He's 6'4", but he's got the fakes, the moves, the footwork. So they got all the pieces, and it's a good matchup because like I say, he's been doing it a long time. He's made some runs. He's won it. Staley is similar. They got a little size inside. They got Caden Fish at 6'7". And then Larry Parker, the third, 6'4" guard. It's just Chris Neff, he's had a nice long run. Even at St. Joe Lafayette, done a tremendous job now. He's made Staley a factor as well. I'm really, really excited about that matchup.
As you look at the class four, and I've got Coach Lennis McFerrin coming in. I've got to meet him at the hotel, get him checked in with Central New Madrid. They take on a Vashon team in the one semifinal. Then you got Father Tolton and Pembroke Hill in that next. What do you know about Vashon and his New Madrid? I know Tony Irons, and we had Vashon on a lot during the football season because they had a tremendous football season. What do you look for in that matchup with New Madrid Central?
It's a rematch of last year's quarters, which Vashon won, and I watched them play a couple of times during the summer at the Rib City Classic in Dexter, and it was hotly contested games. Even though it was just June, you could tell these are two teams that knew they could meet again down the road in state, and here they are in the Final Four. Vashon is really, they graduated a bunch of guys from last year playing Division One. So this is a whole, basically a new team other than Kennard Davis. Mumu was the only kid who probably played a lot of minutes last year. They got three freshmen that play big minutes at the guard spot. Trey Williams can really shoot the ball, as can Christian Williams, and Adair Hill was one of those outstanding football players. Division One recruit is one. He's a heck of a defensive player. And it's a young team, no seniors, but they've just played a tough schedule and they've kind of bought along. And there they are once again back in the Final Four. While New Madrid is a team that has good mixture of seniors and two great sophomore, and Jadis Jones, 6'5", really tough physical guy inside, and him and Marcellus Phillips really do an excellent job. As you saw at the Bass Pro, they did it. Jones had a 19 rebound game, I think, against Parkview, and then Shamar Williamson, 6'2" guard, senior, has really come on. Had a big quarterfinal game. He does an excellent job inside. Kenyon King is kind of a unsung guy. He just sits there and shoots the threes, stationary, spot up shooter. So should be a great game, tough game. These two teams know each other quite well. The coaches know, I remember Linus and Floyd used to go at it back in the day. Now his son, Tony, and is taking up the mantle. So I'm looking forward to a fun matchup there.
And you got Father Tolton, on the bottom of that. Father Tolton's kind of made a run here. They got Fairgrove, and then they got a very good Willow Springs game. Did not much trouble with either one of those. Got to see them a little bit down here in the Nixa tournament earlier, where they kind of handled Nixa, but they've got maybe one of the best freshman guards, in Missouri. Maybe top 25 in the country.
Aaron Rowe really is talented, 6'2", kind of a combo guard. Had 18 points against Willow Springs. Can shoot it, handle it. Great athlete, knows how to create a shot. Very skilled young man, and it's just a talented team. The Javon Porter, 6'11" forward, has really come on strong. I think getting through that district that was probably their main thing. They had to play Fatima, who's really good in the semifinals, and then the big clash was in the championship game against a great Blair Oaks team. That's a state Final Four type game, which was played in the district. So they had to come from 10 to 12 points down in the second half to win that game. So since then they've kind of breezed through, and they're very big. Eve Apollon's a 6'9", post player inside. They got Justin Boy, who's 6'7". Takai Chivas, their Chivas' young son, he's 6'4". And then Javon's 6'11", but he plays inside, but he's also a guard. He could play like a guard. He shoots threes, puts the hand on the ball. I call him the point center, wing forward, shooting guard. I call because that's what he does out there on the court. And then Rowe added to the mix. They played Pembroke Hill, who they played earlier this year in Kansas City. They won. They got a brother act. They got a set of three brothers that start. The Conley twins, Darren and who's a 6'3" forward, and Devin's a 6'2" guard. They're juniors, and their older brother Quentin is about 6'4" forward, and they're kind of the mainstays on that Pembroke Hill team.
And you kind of slide into Class 5. So, we got Springfield Catholic. You got a big win over Bolivar right here in Bolivar at Southwest Baptist University. I was sitting at the scores table for that one. Tremendous game. The officials maybe they called 7 total fouls in the first quarter, and 5 of them were on Zach Howe and Kyle Polk. So they got the two best players in the game. They've got three. One's got 3 fouls, and that was Kyle Polk, and Zach Howe's got 2. So they kind of limited their time. The rest of the game, it was low scoring. Finishes 53-47 was the final there. But now Springfield Catholic moves on and plays Elias Catholic. In that Class 5 semi. Well, at the top, you got 2 St. Louis schools, Webster Groves and Cardinal Ritter, and a lot of talking about Cardinal Ritter maybe being the favorite in Class 5.
Well, Ritter's looking for a three-peat. They won 3A 2 years ago, then they won Class 5 last year. This year, it's kind of the same pattern. They took a lot of losses, played a tough schedule, and then come March, they kind of hit their stride and won the state championship last year. Same thing this year. They took some beatings around February and in late January. Lost to Tolton, lost to Blair Oaks, lost to Borgia, but and then came district time. You could see Ryan Johnson flip that switch, and they came through the toughest district in the state in Class 5. They had to beat DeSmet, who defeated them earlier, and they defeated a great Westminster Christian team,
Yeah.
tremendous team this year. They won at Vashon. They beat CBC. They beat Chaminade by 36. And Ritter came through as a 3 seed and won that deal. So, but they're playing Webster Groves, who's no stranger to going to state. They got probably they'll have the biggest crowd out of the non-local teams. Usually, Webster Grove shows out when they make their run down the state, and it's a big basketball community. They got a 4 or 5 weapons offensively, led by Matt Enright, the Matty Ice. They all call him 6-foot guard, excellent player. But it's a wide open on the other side. I think in Helias and Catholic, you got two of the top bucket getters we have in our state. We talk Zach Howell, of course, from Catholic, and then a young man from Helias named Des White, who has been offered by Missouri and a lot of Division I schools. He scored 42 in the quarterfinal game against William Chrisman. And his running dog at the backcourt is Malcolm Davis, who had 22. So they had scored 64 out of their team's 70 points. And they pretty much do the bulk of the scoring and ball handling for Helias. So that's going to be a good matchup. You got two great guards, a good backcourt like that. That gives you a chance in the Final Four. So looking forward to that one. That's going to be very good. I look forward to young man O'Reilly to really play a big role too, because he just does so many things for Catholic. Howell is the big time scorer. O'Reilly kind of the point guard, rebounder. He can almost get you a triple double and play good defense as well. He and Ty Lyon, I think, have to really step up with big games. I think that could help them move on.
Well, Liam O'Reilly, I felt like was the difference in
Yes.
this game here with Bolivar, especially with Zach Howe being in some foul trouble. Zach picked up his fourth foul with 5:47 to go in the fourth quarter, and kind of went offensive, defensive, trade outs there. So Liam, he ends up guarding the Pope kid. He ends up
Yeah.
guarding it. He's being guarded by the biggest kid on Bolivar's team, and Grabowski. But just I felt like he was different. He was able to get to the rim, and when Zach Howe wasn't on the floor, he kind of took over a little bit offensively because Coach Simpson just didn't have enough timeouts, to call to get Zach Howe on offense and out on defense and things of that nature. But it was a
I,
tremendous game.
yeah, I think Catholic and Knicks, I think what will help them is those games they played in the Bass Pro, especially the first round games, where both of them almost came up with big upsets. I think, especially Nixon. Nixon makes a free throw. They beat the team from Georgia. I think it was the team from Georgia that actually won the thing, wasn't it? Or
Yeah,
no, yeah. I mean, they played a great game, and then I think Catholic played the team Paul Six that from Virginia that won the tournament. They were within Zach had a three to go in and out, which would have tied it or cut it to one in 30 seconds. I think so. It shows that they can play with the top. On a given night, they can raise their, especially on that floor. I think they should have some confidence knowing that they can play with anybody, which makes them add some intrigue to these Final Four games, especially with those two teams having gone through it.
very good. Again, we're visiting with Earl Austin Jr. from Prep Hoops, Missouri, and St. Louis American. And Earl, how are you going to take in the games this weekend? Are you going to do the TV deal, or are you coming down?
Both. I'll be watching the 6A boys and girls games here today, and then I'll be getting on the car in the morning, and I'll be down to watch the balance of the Final Four Friday and Saturday on live from the JQH Arena. Looking forward to it.
Very good, very good, and we will be there as well. And we look so forward to finally meeting you in person, and
Absolutely. Yeah,
we'll have a good time. But I really appreciate your time today, and we'll catch up tomorrow, I'm sure.
absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you. Thanks for having me too, guy.
You bet. Hall of Famer Earl Austin Jr. here on the Missouri Sports Network, where everyone has a home field advantage, and presented by Countrywide Financial Agent Rashad Taylor. Back after this.